Thank you and welcome everyone to the Fiscal Planning, Finance and Building Committee meeting of Wednesday, June the 4th, 2025. It is 6 p.m. We will begin. It's a call to order. Item 2 is a motion to convene into closed session. Trustee Davies, will you move us? Trustee McDonald, will you second that? All in favor of moving? We're moved. Thank you. Item 3 is a rise and report from the closed session. I would rise and report that the report of the closed session regarding the minutes of the closed session of the Fiscal Planning, Finance and Building Committee meeting of June the 4th, 2025, the report of the acquisition of the former St. Gertrude Catholic Elementary School, the combined capital project status report, and the procurement activity report for April 1st to April 30th, 2025 be received. Trustee Promoli, will you move that, please? Trustee Bailey, second it. All in favor? That's received. And we will move to item 4 on the agenda, which is acknowledgement of our traditional lands. Thank you, Mark.
The land upon which we work, live, and sustain ourselves is the ancestral and treaty lands of the Michizagig Anishinaabe, also known today as the Mississaugas of the Credit, the rightful caretakers and title holders of this land. We also recognize the rich pre-contact history and relationships which include the Anishinaabe and the Ongwe Hongwe.
Since European contact, this land continues to be home to Indigenous and non-Indigenous peoples. As responsible community members, we value the diversity, dignity, and worth of all people.
Colonialism displaced and dispossessed Indigenous peoples of their ancestral land
and continues to deny their basic human rights, dignities, and freedoms.
We are committed to learning true history to reconcile, make reparations, and fulfill our treaty obligations to the original peoples and our collective responsibilities to the lands, water, animals, and each other for future generations.
Thank you. Item 5 on the agenda is the approval of the agenda. Can we move? Trustee Davies will move it. Trustee McDonald, will you second it? All in favor of approval of this agenda? We have approval. Thank you, everyone. Item 6 is declarations of conflict of interest. Are there any? Oh, sorry. Yes. Say again.
Jill's on her hand up.
Declaration of conflict. Jill, do you have a declaration of conflict?
No, sorry, that was for number 5. Stan, is that when you needed me to jump in number 5, or are we waiting until after?
No. We just approved the agenda. That's item 5.
So
and then
coming in at 8.
Oh yes, gotcha. So before we had a question from Jill. Her hand was up before I called it to a vote. I apologize for missing that. Go ahead, Jill. What would you like to add or alter?
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to move that each of the 2 Conservation Authority representatives be given 10 minutes for their delegation for a total of 20 minutes for item 8.2.
Okay, thank you. So for everybody's attention, there are 2 conservation authorities here for discussion and presentation on flood planning, and would like to have a bit more time than 10 minutes would allow, because there are 2 major authorities connected: Toronto Region Conservation Authority, Credit Valley. I'm certainly willing to approve that, and would like to see each of our authority members have that much time. And with that, yes.
But that would be against our bylaws when.
Not if it's approved at the agenda level.
Okay, but I just want to bring this to the trustees' attention, but that's going against our bylaws of 10 minutes on a subject. And normally, when delegations are on the same subject, we get them to work together within the 10 minutes.
Okay, we're going to move forward with giving them each 10 minutes.
I'm concerned, please let me finish. I'm concerned about setting a precedence. So I think we should have 2 separate delegations rather than have 20 minutes per one delegation.
It is 2 separate delegates. We're going to hear from Toronto and Region Conservation Authority representatives for 10 minutes. And then we're going to hear from Credit Valley Conservation Authority for 10 minutes.
Correct, but the way you phrased it, you said it'd be 20
Okay.
minutes.
So if we could get past the phrasing
Well, it's very important when we follow.
Right. So go ahead, Trustee Davis.
So I see logic in this because the landscape of Credit Valley is very different from the Greater Toronto area. So could we have an 8.3 and have one of them as 8.3 and then have an 8.2 and then an 8.3 and have them 10 minutes each. Could we do that, Chair?
We could do that. We're gonna end up in the same place.
Yeah, I get
In
that.
spite of the fact that, no, this is not the time to, with our delegations.
Yep.
We're going to do, we're happy to do, if you would move that, to add an 8.3. We'll call first on the Toronto Region Conservation Authority, then we'll call on the Credit Valley Conservation Authority after the first 10 minutes is done. And there will be two separate items. Let's put that motion on the floor. Somebody second it?
Yep.
Okay, seconded by trustee Alves. All in favor of adding an 8.3? That is so approved. We will be doing that. Thank you, trustee Promoli. And we're at item 7 now. 7.1 is the Budget Development Committee meeting minutes, which are here for our approval. Trustee Promoli put that on the floor. And trustee Bailey, second it. All in favor of receipt or approval of those minutes? If there are no questions, there are none. That's so approved. Item 7.2 is approval of the minutes from the Fiscal Planning, Finance and Building Committee meeting of May the 7th. Let's put it on the floor. Trustee Davies and trustee Bailey, second it. It's on the floor. Are there any questions about those minutes of May the 7th? Seeing none, all in favor of approval? Approved. Item 8 is delegations. 8.1 is a delegation by M&D Baines on behalf of the Red Cedar Public School community regarding delay in the construction of Red Cedar Public School. So before we get to M&D, this delegation has brought with them a number of families who also brought with them a flash drive has a 5-minute video made by the children. So I'm asking M&D to move as quickly as possible through your dialogue so that we can include what the children have sent us as well. So you have the floor now. Thank you. Welcome.
Can everyone hear me?
Yes, all good.
Okay, I was able to use it. Thank you. All right. Good evening, everyone. My name is M&D Baines, and I'm here today on behalf of the entire Red Cedar Public School community to express our growing concern and deep frustration regarding the ongoing delays in the construction of our neighborhood school. To help you better understand the impact this has had on our children and families, I'd like to share some context and facts with you all. Many of us moved into this neighborhood in 2021, aware that there was no school in the area, but reassured that our children would be accommodated at Aylesbury Public School at that time. However, we were soon informed that Aylesbury was already over capacity. Our children were instead sent to James Creek Public School, an overflow school that frankly did not provide a stable or supportive environment to the kids. During the 4 months my daughter attended James Green, her learning experience was severely compromised. The class environment was disruptive, poorly managed, and left a negative impact on her mental well-being. I remember watching a once happy child become anxious and afraid of going to school. It was only after raising concerns with the principal, school trustee, and other officials that we were offered a transfer to Aylesbury, but by then the damage was already done. In February of 2022, I wrote to the PPFB to inquire about the construction timeline for Red Cedar Public School. I also told the board that there was an ongoing problem of all schools going out of capacity in the community, leading to kids being bused to James Creek or other school in the area. The response that I got from Mr. Malin Edwards, who was the manager of communications at PPFB.
Okay, so just so I can clarify, there are no names permitted in this presentation.
Okay, so the response, sorry about that. The response that I got from a representative at PPFB was that at that time, they were waiting for provincial government's approval to proceed and municipal site approval. He further stated that given the project plan, the construction should start in the fall of 2023 with the anticipated start date for school as September 2024. He also promised that the board will do their best to expedite the approval process to ensure that the construction of school is completed on time. Based on the reassurance, we continued sending our children to Aylesbury, clinging to the hope that they would eventually attend their own community school. But fall 2023 came and went with no construction activity in sight. We thought our daughter was in grade 6. At this point, even if they don't construct the school for another 2 years, at least she'll complete her grade 8 along with her friends that she's made at Aylesbury with the teachers and staff she knows already. Then in early 2024, we were hit with more disappointing news. Red Cedar, first of all, we knew would not open in September 2024. And then they said the kids can't even be in Aylesbury. They will have to go to Aloha Public School, which is designated holding school for Red Cedar. This was yet another disruption, needless to say, very disappointing and frustrating, but we did not have any choice. Our kids started Red Cedar in September 2024. And to our pleasant surprise, the staff, the principal, and the administration made our kids truly feel that they were finally with the right set of instructors and mentors. But just the right set of instructors and mentors, not the right facility. To make matters worse, we learned that the school will not get any funding until it moves to its own building, which means no equipment, no basketballs, no volleyballs, no sports gear, and all of this because school is still not in its own building. So you see the double blow here. First, the board says no building for Red Cedar, and no funding either unless you are in your own building. And guess what? Who really suffers due to all of this? Not the PDSB management, not the trustees, not the provincial government. It's the kids going to that school. And what is their fault? That their parents decided to move to this neighborhood. I remember one day my son came home and said, "Mom, our school is so broke." And that moment shattered my heart into millions of pieces. I questioned my decision to be a good citizen, to be a sincere and truthful taxpayer, to pay a 22.2% of my property tax to the school board every year, which is anywhere between $1,500 to $2,000 per year per family, depending on the size of the house and the corresponding property tax. I calculated mine and it's $2,153, so $2,153 that I'm paying to the school board every year for my kids to go to a crumbling school with no funding at all. Despite all of this, we looked ahead to September 2025, the new projected opening date, and allowed ourselves to hope. We watched construction materials finally arrive. I'm sorry, I might get a little high on emotions here because it's concerned with the kids. We celebrated small signs of progress. We believed. I thought to myself, at least my daughter will get to attend her grade 8 in her new school. Every time we pass by Clockwork in Brisdale, kids get excited looking at the building and start guessing which window would be part of their classroom. But on May 8th, their excitement and hope were once again shattered when we received the letter notifying that even this date is now uncertain, that the school may not be ready by September 2025. I apologize for my language, but this is absolutely ridiculous. I have 2 children, one entering grade 8 and the other going to grade 3. And if Red Cedar's building is not ready, they will be placed in 2 different schools. This is not only logistically burdensome for working families, but also emotionally damaging to the children who've already endured multiple school changes. And I refuse to accept this as reasonable accommodation. It may be easy to send a letter outlining a contingency plan, but the reality of implementing the plan is anything but easy. Families are left scrambling once again because of the delays that should have been managed, contracts that should have been enforced, and timelines that should have been respected. And our question as a community is, who is being accountable for all these delays? When anyone purchases a new home, the builder provides a firm closing date and meets it, knowing there will be legal consequences if they don't. What recourse do we, the taxpayers and parents, have when the board assurances are broken time and again? This is not just a facilities issue. This is a matter of equity, of mental health, right to education, educational consistency, and of community integrity. Grade 8 is a critical year, and separating students from their familiar staff and peers will have lasting consequences on these kids. How can the school board be so irresponsible? Kids going to grade 8, like my daughter, count on their teacher guidance and references for their high school admissions. Do you think the staff in James Green would care about that? They have a mentality of being an overflow school and do not care about investing time and effort in future of these students. Why should these kids have to start all over again when they just started all over again? And why should siblings get separated? Why is the contractor not being pushed to get the already delayed work again on time? Why can't we hire the subcontractors? We pay taxes only to change multiple schools for our kids without our control or consent. And why are families and children bearing the burden of systemic inefficiencies? Let me be clear. We're not willing to accept another transfer to James Green. I want to make sure that the board understands the community's stand on this issue. We're not ready to accept the proposed accommodation to send our kids to James Green. The board has a duty to provide reasonable accommodation, and separating siblings to change the schools for the third time is not an acceptable solution. And the board should and must find an alternative solution. And if no viable solution is presented, especially for students entering their final year of elementary school, the community will not hesitate to explore their legal options. We urge the board to act now, prioritize the completion of Red Cedar Public School. If needed, as a community, we are prepared to volunteer our time to help. If it means painting walls or tightening the screws, we are there, we can do it. And before I close, I have these cutouts, the online petition that we started on change.org. If you want to just get familiar, review and support our cause, thank you for that. And we have a short video that the kids have prepared, and I would really appreciate if you can go through that. Thank you everyone for your time and consideration.
Thank you, Amandeep. We have a few minutes. Can we play that, Mark, please?
Excellent staff, amazing students, and a friendly community, Red Cedar Public School is an amazing place for learning, growth, and a lot of fun. Despite the fact that it's a holding school, students are trying really hard to succeed and develop.
How do you feel about this community that we built?
So Red Cedar is a really nice community. You have like these amazing staff. They encourage you to do well, and really nice students. And we have like lots of clubs, like dodgeball club, dodgeball team, and yeah, it's a really nice community to be in.
Do you feel like you've made good friends here?
Yeah, they're all so nice, and like they always help me with all the bad things I'm going through, and all the staff is really nice here too, and I really appreciate it.
The actual Red Cedar building, which is supposed to be located at 595 Brisdale Drive, isn't built yet, so the kids that are supposed to go to the school are split up between Aylesbury Public School, James Green Public School, and the Old Aloha Holding School building. In the Old Aloha building, located at 1248 Mayfield Road, there's a huge lack of funding, and no one really feels like it's a real school because of how many times students have to go out of their way just to do basic stuff, like purchasing gym equipment. But the main issue? Since 2022, students have been hoping that the new building will be finished, but it's not. Now, in 2025, we were promised that for the 2025 to 2026 school year, that's exactly where we would be. But no, kids have been moved around countless times and are still not completely sure that they're getting a new building in the upcoming year. The contingency or backup plan is that the kids will be split up again, with the kindergarten to grade 3 students in the Old Aloha Holding School building and the grade 4 to 8 students in James Green. And this is absolutely horrible.
Curriculum is always talking about mental health and how it's so important, but I don't think people understand how taking us away from our siblings really affects our mental health. Students here at Red Cedar really value their relationship with their siblings, and us being split up does not help this at all.
I don't think we should be going to James Green because it's like an hour away, and some kids cannot be an hour away from like where their houses are. Especially if you have like siblings and they go to a whole different school, it's gonna be hard for your parents to like pick them up and then also have to get you some of the times. I don't think that's fair to everyone.
Our community came together on pretty short notice. I didn't know I was coming here till the school year almost started.
And like to think that we just came together like just this year and they're already and we're already being split up between schools. Like you're breaking apart the community, and community together it's stronger, but we won't be together anymore. So I don't know what's going to happen to the school community then.
No one really thought this was fair that we were being split up again, and we really had to put a stop to it. And so an online petition was arranged at change.org to get as many voices as we could.
Okay, thank you, Amandeep. So the way delegations work is you present, and this committee at this stage makes a decision where that issue should go within. Do you need a hard copy of the? Yes. So if you have your presentation, obviously you were reading from, if you can leave that with us before you go, please, then it becomes a foundation from which you can get some responses, because you asked a number of questions within that presentation. So it's up to the committee here. What we have a number of options where what we can do with this. And yes, Trustee Davis.
So I want to make a motion that we receive this delegation, and so it is part of the public record, and it is definitely in our archives.
Right, so it can be received, but where should it go, or just received?
You want to send it to staff?
So it can go to the director's office, right?
Absolutely.
It could go to staff. It could. There are options. Sorry, you go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say let's refer to the director's office and for a little response on it, please.
Seconded.
I'd love to, through your chair, I'd like to second that. I think we heard something on Red Cedar Public School back in April, so I absolutely think it should go to the director for a fulsome response. Thank you for the delegation.
So this is not a dialogue, Amandeep. This is not a dialogue among any of us, as opposed to just making a decision here. Where's it going to go? So you can get some answers to your good questions. And we're sorry that this has happened. This is not something that has sat well with trustees as well, and we've asked administration to move the construction along as fast or faster than possible, because we recognize what that challenge is. So all in favor of the motion that's on the floor to move this to the director's office for answers, that is approved and that is carried. So thank you very much, team. If you just bring your papers over, maybe give it to Trustee McDonald, the first trustee right there in front of you.
Sure. So yes, I can absolutely send an email to you. So on that note, then, should I be expecting some sort of response in the next few days?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you. Thank
So
you for
there's
that.
contact information in there in your.
Yes,
Yeah.
I can send an email out.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Okay. And then your team is free to go unless you wanted to stay to hear the next delegation on flood management.
Thank you.
Good. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So item 8.2 is, we have agreed to split item 8.2 and 8.3. This is going to be a delegation from the Toronto Region Conservation Authority. And we have a number of representatives between Toronto Region and Credit Valley who are going to be speaking and presenting their material. Daryl Gray is the director of it's training and education for the TRCA, and we'll start with Daryl if we can, please, with introductions.
Great, thank you, Trustee Cameron, and through you as the chair. Thank you for having us here this evening and for the opportunity to present. We appreciate the extra time. We did anticipate presenting together, so we'll do our best to keep within 10 minutes, just to respect the order of business on your agenda. As the chair said, I'm Daryl Graham, the Director of Education and Training here at Toronto Region Conservation Authority. I have the privilege and pleasure of working with school boards across the GTA to advance our shared goals related to education. I'll talk a little bit about the history of conservation authorities, and I'll hand it over to Emma Ho Candela and David Kellerson from TRCA, and from Credit Valley Conservation, just to walk through a brief presentation on our request to the school board to work more closely together on flood programming within your schools. So as a bit of a primer for those that aren't familiar with conservation authorities, is we were formed in 1946 through legislation called the Conservation Authorities Act. So similar to school boards, hospitals, universities, and colleges, we have an act that governs our work. We report to the Minister of Natural Resources and Forestry. Conservation authorities at their core are intended to manage regions of watersheds. So we're watershed based as opposed to following municipal boundaries. And in their wisdom in the 1940s, and that is true today, is that they understood that the watershed is the ecological unit around which to group ecological activity that didn't know municipal political boundaries. They also understand two other key principles that were foundational to the conservation authorities in Ontario. One is that We need to be community driven and community based. So the programs we do and we deliver need to be responsive of the communities we serve within those watersheds. So we're constantly listening to school boards and communities and others in order to make sure that we're being responsive to that. And the last piece is that we're partnership based. Everything we do is through partnership. Even our government structure is comprised of elected officials from the area municipalities. So our board at TRCA is comprised of elected officials from Peel, York, Durham, and Toronto. And CBC, same model applies, that they've got elected officials that bring those municipalities together in what is really the only format or forum to have a shared governance and discussion around how you achieve regional sustainability and regional ecological health. So that's an important part of what we do in terms of a partnership. So we're here to talk a little bit about the partnership with the school boards and our hope to be able to work more closely with you on something that we haven't necessarily worked closely on in the past, which is our flood response and planning work. So I'll hand it over to David at that point. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is David Kellerson, and I'm with the Toronto Region Conservation Authority. So what we have on the screen right now is a map showing the difference between TRCA and CBC with respect to Peel Region, with Credit Valley Conservation, CBC on the west side, and Toronto Region Conservation Authority on the east side, covering different watersheds, but overlapping across Peel. So one of the reasons we're here is because of weather. So 24 was a record-breaking year. We had the wettest summer on record. So we had 511 millimeters there versus the average of 223. And for context, the driest year a fair number of years ago was 89 millimeters. So one of the things that came to our attention in 24 was one of the schools was impacted heavily during the storms in 24. And this highlighted something, an opportunity for us to work together to further flood preparedness. And this story, which I'll skip over because hopefully you all know it, drives us. Speaking a little bit more broadly, so what we have on the screen right here is the circle, which is part of Ontario's flood strategy. There's four quadrants to that. The two quadrants on the right side speak to preparedness and response. And that's really a space where we can spend a lot of time preparing for flood emergencies and also preparing for how to respond to them. So what we have here is the 5 key responsibilities for conservation authorities. Just to quickly go over those. So one of the things we do, and we have staff that work 24/7 to do this, we monitor the watershed and weather conditions, and we operate a flood forecasting system. So a lot of our partners, primarily municipalities and others, use that system as a tool to trigger certain emergency actions. And there are a number of emergency plans throughout our jurisdictions. So we issue flood messages, that's the trigger, often for action. But we also operate Conservation Authority dams and flood control structures. We own those and operate those, a variety of them. We also provide technical advice and expertise to municipalities and others. And we also maintain communications, especially during emergencies.
Hi, everyone. My name is Emma Dallin. I'm a water resource engineer with Credit Valley Conservation. So to support this initiative, we've completed a preliminary risk analysis using our available flood risk mapping data to identify a number of schools with potential flood risk. As an example, we're showing here on the screen the distribution of schools within the city of Mississauga and Brampton, which have known flood risk. This includes roughly 13 schools, which are physically located within the regulated floodplain limit, and 55 schools, which are located within 100 meters of the floodplain, making these schools at higher risk of flooding around open water courses and open channel networks, requiring flood evacuation planning. Nearly 130 schools also have the potential risk of urban flooding and may benefit from on-site preventative measures to improve local drainage conditions. There are several ways and measures that can be taken to reduce flood risk within our schools and to keep our children and communities safe. The first is to consider flood risk and mitigation measures for all new schools as part of the planning process. The second is to develop flood evacuation planning for schools and implement flood awareness and preparedness planning for staff, students, and the community. And the third is to adopt on-site flood control measures on schools to improve local drainage conditions. So we've come here today to request a partnership with the Peel District School Board to develop flood risk reduction programming, which includes flood and emergency preparedness plans for schools, flood awareness campaigns for staff and students, including information of preventative measures for new and existing schools.
And I'll jump back in to tell a couple stories from our experiences with floods and emergency planning. So this is a map showing what happened in July 16th, 2024, July 15th and 16th. So what this is a composite map, but it shows how the storm events came from the west, the east towards Toronto. But that mechanism for watching that allows us to plan ahead. So the first message we issued was about 24 hours before that storm event. So there are opportunities for warnings during events. And I'll jump to the next one just because of time. So I have two examples here that exist in the city of Toronto. One is the Evergreen Brickworks facility, which is located fully within a floodplain. They knew they were in a floodplain, but it was historic buildings that they wanted to use. So to manage that, they created an emergency plan and they made adjustments to their building design. So, for example, moving electrical boxes a little bit higher above the flood levels, and they have an evacuation plan. And during this past summer, they evacuated, were able to recover quite quickly because they designed the building to dry out quickly. Also, GO trains. In 2013, we had a flooded GO train. Thereafter, a plan was put together, and since then, no flooding of trains has happened, largely because of that triggering mechanism of the flood warnings that triggers an emergency plan at Metrolinx that keeps the trains away from those areas. So we have a long history of collaboration with school boards and schools. And this is something that we believe we can build on. So we have outdoor education programs, we have Watershed on Wheels and school programs, the Peel Eco Schools Partnership, and we have even capital priorities and programs for new schools, additions and renewal, where we participate and advise. So we're proposing that we work together for flood and emergency training for board staff and for awareness building amongst students and communities.
Building off what David was showing, we also wanted to showcase the success, of some of our previous partnerships with the school board and local property owners. This includes investing in on-site flood prevention measures in new and existing schools. Over the last 10 years, CBC has successfully implemented a total of 15 rain gardens and local drainage improvements on a total of 11 school properties. These facilities not only provide local stormwater benefits and help to improve the school's resilience to climate change, but they also allow for enhanced learning opportunities for students. Through this program, CBC was able to produce curriculum-connected lessons plans on rain gardens and stormwater in order to provide opportunities for outdoor learning and engagement for both teachers and students. We hope to take the lessons learned from these existing on-site programs to strengthen the development and implementation of the flood risk reduction program that we've outlined here today. So in summary, we're requesting that the PPFB trustees pass the resolution to enable school board staff to work with municipal and conservation authority partners to enhance emergency plans to include flood risk with an immediate focus on flood evacuation planning and emergency preparedness in high-risk flood schools that we've presented here today. This request is for PPFB trustees to pass the resolution to enable staff to work with municipal and CA partners to scope a collective flood risk reduction communication program, including staff and student training on prevention and emergency response. Thank you.
Thank you. 10 minutes and 33 seconds. Good job. Thank you, Daryl, Emma, and David. So we have the ask. All of the committee members could see what was asked by the team. And where would we like to refer this to? And thank you very much for those details. I should add as a preamble, I represent the board on the TRCA's outdoor ed committee, and it's the finest. And Daryl Gray is our administrative rep. So Where would we like to refer this to, Trustee McDonald?
Yeah, I'd like to refer this request to staff to present a subsequent report on their ask, and which we can then have a discussion.
Okay, what if we could ask Associate Director Gill whether that's the best place for it? We can vote on it in a second, but is that the best place for it, or is it the director's office? Where would you see this best blending? Staff find it?
You know, that'd be fine. Yeah, we're happy to look into the request and come back to this committee with a report on what as a board we need to do, and then get the direction from there on.
It won't cost us much because they've done all the work already, having seen their research. So
Can I second this motion?
we have a motion on the floor. It's seconded by Trustee Davies for this to be referred to staff or a report to come back to this committee. All in favor of that? Jill, are you hearing? But that's.
I'm here, yep.
I just can't see your hand, sorry.
Put it up.
It's up there, I'm in favor.
Okay, thank you, sorry. So that is carried. We will have that as, and that is 8.2 on the agenda. 8.3 on the agenda is the same as 8.2, but we'll just recycle with new focus perhaps. Daryl, over to you.
That was the entirety of our.
That was it?
Yeah. So we were able to get it all. We hadn't anticipated these two, so we combined it into one and did it in 10 minutes. So
I see.
we appreciate
Wow,
that time.
Talked about on the spot rotation of material. Good for you. Well, thank you. So we do not have an 8.3, and so we can accept it as part of 8.2 for sure. And we'll leave it at that. So you know now what's going to happen. We will get back to you with where it's referred. I think Associate Director Gill has a handle on where this should land within his staffing team and who would be best to work with you. And then we'll get a report back as requested in the motion. Thank you so much for your time. You didn't introduce your other two colleagues behind you. Daryl?
Sorry, I apologize. We have representatives from both the city of Mississauga and Brampton here.
Wow.
Thank you for coming.
I
just want to acknowledge that this is an important part of the work that we do together with our municipal partners, and that we really appreciate your time tonight as a school board. A key focus of conservation law is obviously floodplain management and flood warning. So the ability to work closely with you and ensuring that your schools are prepared, but also the communities that you serve and that we serve together get the kind of information they need so they can respond in the case of emergency or prepare for a coming flood. So thank you very much for your time. And,
we'll do our best to join hands with you. Thank you so much, everybody, for your time. Have a good night. They at least will get home in time to see the start of the Edmonton game.
There's hope for us yet, Trustee Campbell.
Don't worry about us. So we are moved now to item 9, which is staff reports. 9.1 is the new attendance boundary for Glenhaven Senior Public School Middle Years International Baccalaureate Regional Learning Choices Program. Here is a recommendation, a presentation by Suzanne Blakeman, who's the Manager of Planning and Enrollment. Welcome, Suzanne.
Thank you, Chair Cameron, and through you. On May 28, 2025, the Board of Trustees approved the relocation of the Middle Years IB program from Bristol Road Middle School to Glenhaven Senior Public School, phasing in beginning with grade 6 in September 2027. Students who are already attending Bristol Road Middle School for IB will be allowed to graduate. The reasons for this change are outlined in the report that went to the CES committee on May 13, 2025, can be found attached as Appendix 2. The impact on enrollments at each of the schools is net neutral, as it will remove the need for portables at Bristol Road, but may require the use of one or two of them at Glenhaven Senior Public School long term. It is recommended that the boundary for the IB program at Glenhaven Senior Public School be the same as it is currently for Bristol Road Middle School.
Thank you. Let's move this to the floor. Trustee McDonald will move it, and Trustee Elves, will you second it? It's on the floor. Are there any questions about this?
Comment?
Yes.
Glenhaven is one of my schools, and I am delighted to know that we'll be getting an IB program there. I think next Wednesday I have a parent information night. So thank you very much.
Good thing this is going to be received tonight.
No kidding, eh?
Yes, so this is here as a recommendation, all in favor? And that is carried. Thank you. Thanks, Suzanne. 9.2 is the Science and Technology Regional Learning Choices Program. Boundary change for Morningstar Middle School, grade 6 to 8, Centennial Senior Public School, which is also 6 to 8, and Macville Public School, 6 to 8. This is a recommendation here for our consideration and presentation by Suzanne Blakeman, again, Manager of Planning and Enrollment.
Thank you again, Chair Cameron, and through you. On May 28th, 2025, the Board of Trustees approved the conversion of the Arts and Technology program at Morningstar Middle to a Science and Technology program. The Arts and Technology program will be phased out starting September 26th, at the same time as the new Science and Technology program is phased in. The rationale for this change can be found in Appendix 4, as was outlined for the CES committee and approved on May 13th, 2025. There will be little to no impact on the enrollments at any of the affected schools, as both programs being phased in and out will have 2 classes per grade at Morningstar Middle School. Despite the now reduced catchment areas for the Macville and Centennial SciTech programs, they will have more than enough applicants to fill their programs. The recommended boundaries can be found in Appendix 3.
Excellent, thank you. Good to hear that last part around none of those 3 schools will be impacted in terms of loss of enrollment. And it's good to hear. So it's on. Let's put it on the floor. Trustee Davies, Trustee McDonald. It's moved and seconded. Are there any questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor? It's a recommendation for us. Thank you. That's carried. Yes. Sorry, did you say something, Jill?
No, I was just voting in favor.
Okay, thank you. 9.3 is the application status report. This is also here for our information, presented finally by someone who can speak for the first time, Suzanne Blakeman. This is the Suzanne Blakeman Show. It's a Manager of Planning and Enrollment again. Thank you, Suzanne.
Thank you, Chair Cameron. Again, through you. This report is here for your information. It includes a list of development applications reviewed by planning staff for the months of March and April 2025. Each development application is accompanied by location maps and comment letters sent to each respective municipality.
Excellent. Trustee Bailey, put it on the floor, please. Trustee Elves will second it. It's on the floor. Are there any questions about the application status report for your areas or others? Seeing none, good job, Suzanne. Thank you.
Thank you.
And item 9.4 is a procurement activity report here for our information presented by, excuse me, Controller Tanya Letitia Charles, Controller of Finance Support Services.
Thank you, and through you, Chair Cameron. The report before you provides an update on procurement activities for goods and services for the period of April 1st to April 30th. Highlights within the report are the contract that were awarded to Apple Educational Products and Related Services, HVAC upgrades at Corsair Public School and Silver Creek Public School, the upgrade of CBO access control and school backdoor card access, boiler plant upgrades at Bell Fountain Public School, Larkspur Public School, and Louis Arbor Secondary School, and the use of Amazon Business Prime for the period of March 20th, 2025 to March 2026 for the purchase of various goods. All contracts were awarded in accordance with the board's procurement policy and the board procurement regulations. In addition, all contract awards in this report have been posted publicly as required by applicable public procurement regulations. And this report is here for your information, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you for that report. Trustee Promoli, will you put it on the floor?
I do.
Thank you, Trustee Bailey. We second. All in favor, are there any questions? Seeing none, all in favor of the receipt for this as information. Thank you, Tanya, again and again for all of your help. And item 10 is communications. I have none. 11 is trustee motions for consideration. There are none. Item 12 is trustees notices of motion, of which there are none. And item 13 is adjournment. Trustee Bailey will adjourn us. Trustee Alves will second. All in favor of adjournment. Thank you, everyone.